If you're facing with salary negotiation after receiving a new offer, it is quite common to feel anxious and hesitating. Historically, organizations have kept salary information confidential because they assume they benefit when candidates are in the dark about how much they might make. But since 2023, US and EU have implemented new laws, moving companies towards greater pay transparency, and this has impacted the process of how you can negotiate your salary. In this video, I'll be providing you with some strategies to help you navigate the conversation in the age of pay transparency. In case you're new here, I'm Tiffany, former communication vice president of the two largest companies in Sweden by market cap. In this channel, we talk about all things to help middle management get executive jobs. So if you want more content on this topic, be sure to subscribe and click the bell button to be notified when I post new videos every Thursday. Now let's get into it. Now, first things first, what does pay transparency law or pay transparency directive mean to you? It means that employers are required to inform job seekers about the starting salary or pay range of advertised position, whether it is in the vacancy notice or ahead of the interview. Not only that, do you remember this interview question we all hate to answer? That is, what's your current salary? So under the pay transparency law, employers are prohibited from asking candidates about their pay history. And once hired, employees will have the right to request information about average pay levels, breaking down by genders, by category of employees doing the same work or work of equal value. What's more is the criteria used to determine pay and career progression must be objective and gender neutral. I see both an upside and downside to this implementation. The upside is that before these laws and directives existed, job candidates were in the dark about what comparable positions made and how the company benchmarked salaries against the rest of the market. Now, having a pay transparency takes away some of these unknowns for sure, but there's a downside as well. The downside is that this can cause job candidates to become hyper-focused on salary rather than the bigger picture of the offer package. Salary is just a piece of it, but there are other aspects of the job to think and consider. For example, job responsibilities, benefits, flexibilities, career advancement, company culture, and future development. So how to balance the upside and the downside? My tip number one is what's more important than the information you have access to now is your own self-worth. The salary negotiation is a collaborative interaction between the employee and the employer. For you to navigate this process, it's not just about being willing to ask for more. It is also about having the information, approach, self-confidence, and most importantly, the right mindset to make your case. So do not get in your own head, even if a particular number seems out of your reach. Now, let's say you are currently making $120,000 a year and you are offered a job with a salary range of $150,000 to $180,000 a year. You might feel hesitant to ask for the top of the range. However, your current salary has little to do with what another company is willing to pay you. In this case, your previous salary should not hold you back from aiming for the top of the range. Remember, your value in the job market is not entirely decided by your past income. We have a truly encouraging story from one of the members in my coaching program. From one job to the next, she negotiated a 50% salary increase, and now she's leading the largest team in her function. It's a solid proof that your previous salary should not hold you back from aiming for the top of the range. And I will link the video in the description below. Tip number two is that you have to do your research. Your goal is to enter the offer negotiation knowing what you want, but in order to get what you want, you have to realistically understand how employers see your market value. What you want to do is some homework and figure out where you might land within the company's published compensation range. Are you at the top, middle, or towards the bottom? Before the pay transparency directive or the pay transparency law, many of us have assumed that human resources randomly decided what we got paid, with the goal of paying us as little as possible. Now, behind the listed range is actually an approval matrix that is invisible to the job candidates. I worked as vice president of the two global companies, and I can assure you that every company has a trigger form that requires extra approval to justify when we offer a candidate the top range of the salary. One reason for that is we don't want them to be hired and not see themselves having any salary increase for the next 2 to 3 years. So that means when we put them in the high top range, we need to be prepared for how how to motivate them in terms of incentives in the coming years. You want to use the knowledge and information to make a compelling case for yourself. There are a lot of websites that can give you good data. For example, Glassdoor being the one I used. You can also talk with recruiters and colleagues in a similar industry. Also, don't forget to take a good and objective look at your experience, your own qualification, and be honest about your own work history, track records, and your competence. Evaluate your actual job level and scope of your responsibilities. The title in this context might not be as important as you think, because being a vice president in a medium-sized or smaller-sized company is not the same as being a vice president in a large organization with over 100,000 employees. Tip number 3 is to start with a team mindset and emphasize the common ground. In the negotiation stage, the biggest shared interest is that both parties want the agreement to happen. Personally, before I start any salary negotiation, I always tell the hiring manager I also want to make this work. I would say something like this: "Thank you for the job offer. I'm eager to make this opportunity work. And I understand that you probably have interviewed several candidates and invested your time and resources in the process. I'm really grateful for being selected as the final candidate. I'm looking forward to contributing to the success of our team." Now, establish this common ground that positions you as part of the team. The next tip is you want to be mindful about the process. Once the company has made an offer, the window for negotiation is relatively narrow. So you really want to make your case wisely. Do not go back multiple times to negotiate, as this can negatively impact your reputation. I'll share a case here. When I was hiring for a head of marketing position to join my team, a candidate I was considering came back to negotiate more than 3 times, even pushing for the last possible €50. She was a really solid candidate from all perspectives, but I decided to not hire her because the way she negotiated gave me the impression that she could be really challenging to work with, not just from my side, but for the other team members and peers as well. As an employer, we welcome negotiation, but you have to be mindful and reasonable. Complicated and prolonged negotiation can create unnecessary work within the organization. I'll tell you, for this candidate I was trying to hire, HR came back to me multiple times. We even needed to ask extra approval from my manager, who is the president of the company, as she was asking for a very top of the salary range. So try to strike a balance between advocating for your worth and being mindful of how your negotiation style is being perceived. The next tip is you want to prepare your case and make their job easy. Negotiating a higher salary requires clear articulation of why you are worth more. Focus on your differentiators, for example, your track records, your breadth and depth of your industry knowledge, or certain leadership that align with the company's needs. At this stage of the recruiting process, you have already highlighted your past achievements through multiple job interviews and hiring process. So the negotiating stage is the time to discuss how you will continue to add value in the future and how this should be reflected in your income. Articulate how you plan to contribute to the company's growth, whether it's through generating new revenue streams, reducing costs, entering new markets, increasing market share, improving profitability, attracting world-class talents, or build high-performing teams. Basically, what you're doing here is to make them picture a future together with you in their team. Give details about your vision, how you will address potential challenges. This will position you as a strong leader, increasing the perceived value you bring to the organization. Do remember that at this final stage of the recruitment process, you want to be hired, they want to hire you. So both you and the employer want to make the collaboration successful. Recruiters appreciate candidates who can make their job easier. How do you do that? That is to provide solid arguments. They are tailored to the company's business needs. So if you cannot present a compelling case, it becomes challenging for the hiring team to secure extra approval for you to get you to the top of the salary range. Therefore, your role here is to make them in doing their job easy, seeing yourself and the employer as a team working towards a common goal, that is to get you hired. Back to the example I just shared, hiring the head of marketing. I did everything in my power to bring her into our company, including collaborating with the candidate, presenting her case alongside with our HR business partner to the president for this extra approval. Obviously, the candidate did an excellent job in getting us excited about having her in the team. So you might ask me this question: what if I am aiming for extra high? Well, negotiating above the stated pay range is still possible. I have done it myself, making me the highest paid executive in our management team. However, your case needs to be bulletproof to justify a higher salary. While many companies are open to have approximately 5% of their employees paid above the maximum, Now, pay range are not exact science. Sometimes companies break the system to attract the top candidates. There could be many reasons behind this. For example, candidate moving locations, coming from competition, having a unique skill set, or taking on specialized role that the company particularly needs. Now, here's a word of caution based on my own experience being the highest paid executive in our team. If you're being paid above the maximum, the future salary increase are likely to be very small. Very, very small, perhaps only keeping up with the inflation and the cost of living. So don't be surprised when you received the salary review. So understand the company's policy in this regard will do you a favor. If you are considering negotiating for a senior position, having a conversation with, for example, an employment lawyer in the place where your company is based can provide you with valuable insights. This meeting can not only show you what others in the similar positions are asking for, but also give you perspectives on details in the contract, from stocks, equity, other benefits like housing allowance, family health insurance, and employment guarantees. For sure, this is going to be an expensive meeting, but it's well worth the investment for an executive level position. The next tip is do not make your argument about fairness, but rather mutual interest. Pay transparency laws and directives were established to ensure equal pay, but you do not want to frame your offer negotiation around the need of being fair. What you can do here is to focus the conversation on the organization's interest and use the pay transparency information as a reference to anchor your case. Here's what you can say. I know from publicly available information that this role pays up to $250,000, and I believe I'm positioned at the high end of that pay range because of my unique ability to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and demonstrated by my track records in A, B, and C projects at previous companies. I'm confident in the value I bring to the table, and I'm comfortable with a base salary of $230,000 with a 45% annual bonus if I achieve the objective important to you. It's a very strategic way to negotiate because this benefits both you and the organization. If you meet the objective, the organization succeeds too. This approach to negotiate is about creating value, making it a win-win situation rather than a zero-sum game. Now remember, salary is not the only negotiable. There are many other elements during a job offer you can negotiate, and it's worthwhile to explore what are the other options. Let me share some examples. Well, you can negotiate a different starting date, a higher 401k contribution if you are in the US, additional vacation or paid time off, flexible working hours and work from home days, a relocation package, signing bonus, a performance bonus later in the year, equity or a percentage of stock options, home office setup allowance, internet and phone reimbursement, professional development allowance, MBA for example, coaching or external training opportunities, and international school allowance for your kids, childcare budget, etc. One other idea is to negotiate a better job title, which will not only make your resume look better, but this can also help you to perform your job more effectively with increased authority, and this can get you invited to some tables and forums and increase your impact. If you are serious about advancing your career to the senior executive level and you want to make sure that your next move is both fulfilling and financially rewarding, now submit your application to the 1% Academy program where you will be coached by me. Go to inspiremyday.org/apply or click the link in the description below to book a free strategy call with my team or myself. For now, I will leave you with this video to learn how my client Nego got 50% salary increase just 2 months in the program. I'll see you there.